You'll get more than you expect with McValue at McDonald's. Like deals on your late night go-tos when the party goes till dawn. And savings on their faves. So date night always passes the vibe check. Plus, when the fam shows up for the weekend, you can show out for breakfast.
Buy one breakfast sandwich, add one for $1. Only in the app. Limited time only at participating McDonald's. Valid once a day. Must opt into rewards. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Ankit, can we start with, how do I address you? Ankit Jain has a job that is both really important right now and also kind of powerless. Do I address you as Senator?
Yeah, I think Senator Jain is fine. I mean, you can tell people when you're introducing me that I'm like the shadow.
Senator Jain represents Washington, D.C. in Congress. But D.C., of course, it's not a state. So technically, he's not a senator at all. He's a shadow senator. To be clear, he's elected, like everyone else. He just can't vote. I mean, shadow senator is kind of a weird concept.
Yeah, I agree. I did see it once in like a clip I saw of a colleague where they kept on saying, "So shadow senator, what do you think?" And it was just kind of weird. I don't think it didn't really work.
Shadow senators have been around for a long time. Before Tennessee or Michigan were states, back in the 1700s, they had shadow delegates. Many of these shadow delegates became actual delegates. But Senator Jain is serving at a pretty different time, a moment when the federal government is using its special authority over Washington in new and alarming ways.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse.
It started last week when the president placed D.C.'s Metropolitan Police Department, the MPD, under federal control. At the same time, he sent in D.C.'s National Guard and put FBI and Homeland Security agents on the street. Now, Guard members from as far afield as Louisiana and Mississippi are being deployed to the nation's capital. And Trump is justifying all this by painting D.C. as a criminal hellscape.
Our capital city has been overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals, roving mobs of wild youth, drugged-out maniacs and homeless people. And we're not going to let it happen anymore. We're not going to take it.
A week after this press conference, it's clear there are roving mobs of wild youth on D.C.'s streets. It's just these mobs have badges.
It's crazy because I'll say like on a day-to-day basis, you can go around and you won't notice a huge amount of change in most of the places you go. And then every now and then you'll see a tank or you'll see some federal agents and they will show up randomly. You never know where they're going to be and trying to arrest somebody. It seems like a lot of what's been going on is immigration raids.
I mean, I feel like I'm seeing what's happening in DC mostly through these viral videos. One that caught my attention in particular, it showed the arrest of a delivery driver by, I guess they were federal agents. They didn't identify themselves. And a couple things about this video struck me. One, the reason for troops going into DC is theoretically about stopping violent crime. This is not, that's not what this arrest was about, as far as I could tell. It was just someone on a moped being pinned down. The other thing was that the agents hurt themselves in the process of this arrest. Like you see an officer pin this guy to the ground, but there's an officer behind the guy they're trying to get. And so he hits his head. He has to be pulled out on all fours, you know, taking care of himself. And I'm just thinking, this seems like a mess.
Yeah, I mean, there was a story in the Washington Post the other day. Somebody ordered Uber Eats and all of a sudden the location tracking stopped right in front of his house and it was just waiting there for a while. He goes out and his Uber Eats delivery driver is being arrested by ICE.
Just like his constituents, Senator Jain is being forced to watch all this play out. That's the thing about being a shadow senator. You can't really do that much. For now, he's simply an advocate.
This situation is just exposing to everybody exactly why DC needs to be a state, what the consequences are of our lack of statehood. And my hope is that if there's any silver lining in what's happening, is that the next time we have a better Congress and a president, that we're ready to make DC a state, because it just takes a bill to through the Congress for DC to become a state.
DC's Home Rule Act allows the executive branch to take control of the police for 30 days. That would get us to, I think, September 10th. What do you think is going to happen after that date?
Well, you're right that the mayor gets back control of MPD on September 10th. That law is 100% clear on that. There's no ability to do some second emergency or something like that. The emergency can be extended if Congress passes a law to extend it.
Donald Trump seems interested in that.
Yeah, and there's some congressman has introduced a bill to extend the emergency. I forget who it was exactly. Already? Yes, already. They're trying to just use the crime issue as a excuse to take power over DC. And the president said it himself in his press conference announcing this action. They're starting with DC because it's easy, because we're not a state. But if they succeed here, they're going to go to the harder cases. Like, they're going to go to New York. They're going to go to Detroit. They're going to go to Phoenix. They're going to go to Chicago and try to recreate that far-right agenda in those cities. And that is what is really happening here.
Today on the show, the feds are rushing agents into DC. So, how's that going? From the inside. I'm Mary Harris. You're listening to What Next? Stick around.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
The 2024 election was a lot. And now that we're past it, you might be avoiding political news altogether. Or you might want to understand the other side of the aisle, but without poisoning your algorithm or treading into online territory that feels like an alien planet. You need Left, Right, and Center. It's your weekly political news check-in with representatives from both parties, so you can hear from the other guys in a way that helps you actually make sense of it. I'm David Green. Join me on Left, Right, and Center from KCRW. New episodes drop every Friday wherever you listen to podcasts.
There's one thing to understand before you talk about crime in D.C., which is that the federal government controls more than just the district's representation in Congress. It controls D.C.'s laws. Congress actually has veto power over the city council. Local prosecutors are federal. That's why on Tuesday, U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro was able to announce she is simply not going to charge residents who carry long guns on the street. That's illegal, per the district. It's worth saying she made this announcement while also making clear she expects to prosecute anybody getting in the way of federal officers Trump's deployed to the max. The feds also control D.C.'s courts. They appoint and confirm every local judge. Every adult crime in D.C. is prosecuted by a U.S. attorney the president chooses. And for Senator Jane, all this means if the executive branch really wanted to fight crime in the district, it could have done that a long time ago.
And the president, he's not nominated anybody to fill these local judgeships. We have 20% of our local trial court seats are open, and the same in our appellate court. There's a vacancy crisis in the U.S. Attorney's Office, and that's at least partially because the predecessor to the current person, Jeanine Pirro, his name was Ed Martin, and he was also a president's appointee, fired over a dozen attorneys in his office whose only crime was prosecuting violent January 6th insurrectionists. And so they're not nominating judges. They're not offering those people who the president fired for no reason their job back. And so things they could actually do to solve crime, they're not doing. And then they're targeting tangential things that could make things worse.
As we sort of get a little deeper into this interview, I just want to give you some props because I was looking up an interview you did months ago before Donald Trump was in his second term in office. And you basically predicted that this moment would come. You talked about how last time Trump was in office during the BLM protests, there was talk about him taking over the police force in D.C., being more aggressive in D.C. That didn't happen then. and you were sort of anticipating this could happen now. So I guess I wonder, what has surprised you about how this has played out?
I think that the decision to stop prosecuting our gun laws was surprising to me for sure, because it's just so hypocritical to say we need to fight violent crime in DC and then take action that will increase violent crime in DC and increase homicides. And then I guess I'll just say, maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but the hypocrisy has been surprising in general to me, because the other thing that the federal government did is that they stole over $1 billion from our local budget. We have a local budget we passed using our local tax dollars.
It has to go through Congress, I assume.
Yes, it has to go through Congress because we're not a state. When they passed their continuing resolution earlier this year, they said, we're just going to make DC cut $1 billion for no reason. It's not like it saved the federal taxpayers any money. It actually didn't even save the local taxpayers any money. I didn't get any money back on my taxes. That money just is sitting in a bank account unused. And so they cut $1 billion from our budget, which makes it harder for us to fight crime. And then they get angry at us that we're not doing enough to fight crime. To accuse us of problems that were created by you yourself, I think is pretty amazing to me.
Yeah. Can we dig into the crime stuff a little bit? Because I feel like there has been this back and forth about the crime stats, what they mean and who they mean what to. You said, DC violent crime is at a 30-year low. There's a little bit of nuance there. Like the city's homicide rate is still nearly twice what it was in 2012, right? So it's high. What do we need to know about crime in DC? How do we actually understand it? Because I feel like the numbers can be made to fit anyone's argument.
Yeah, I mean, DC has crime like any other city in this country. And I'm not going to tell you that there's nothing we can improve. There's always things we can improve, but we are making progress, right? We have a clear drop for over the past 2 years. And when you look at violent crime as a whole, we are below our pre-pandemic level. So it's not like it was a rise in the pandemic and it's a little bit lower, but it's still high. No, we're actually below the pre-pandemic levels. Crime is an issue that local elections turn on. We have actually, in the past 2 years, passed 2 or 3 major crime bills that toughened criminal sentences and toughened criminal justice policies. This is a complicated topic. I know the president said in his press conference it's easy. That's totally wrong. It's not an easy thing to bring crime down in a major urban city. And we deserve the ability to decide for ourselves how to do it. And we are the ones who know how to do it.
It's interesting because I feel like now with Trump getting involved locally with law enforcement and claiming violent crime is why we're there, you see some Democrats being like, listen, it's a 30-year crime low. And I think some have criticized Democrats who say that by saying you're denying people's felt experience of crime in DC, and that could be politically dangerous for you.
Well, I mean, so when I talk to people in DC about crime, I mean, there are people I talk to who are like, we need to get tougher, but nobody thinks that what the president is doing in DC is actually going to help. The Washington Post just put out a poll that confirmed this. It confirms the conversations I've had. Even people who are like, we need to be way tougher on crime, the DC government is not doing enough. They don't want this because it's not actually solving the problem. For the president, he wants headlines, right? So he lives in a bunker, a fortified bunker. He doesn't actually deal with the crime problem. He doesn't care about actually solving the problem.
Are the high crime areas of DC actually the areas that are getting federal resources in this moment?
To the large degree, no. What you see is the National Mall area, Union Station, some of these, parts of DC that are better known to tourists, more tourist areas, they get a lot of the attention. And you're not seeing the president focus on these high crime areas because, like I said, he's not actually trying to solve the crime problem. You listen to what the president says. It's clear that he's not doing this for the residents of Washington, D.C. He is doing this to the residents of Washington, D.C.
Why do you say that?
You listen to his press conference and his statements. He says, the problem is that when I bring in the prime minister from Norway or Finland or England or whatever, they're seeing a dirty city, and that reflects badly on me and on the United States of America. I want my tourists from Wisconsin and California and whatever to have a good experience. I have not seen the president once express any sort of sympathy for the people who actually live here. And you can see this because the reason this whole thing started is because a high-ranking Doge staffer got carjacked.
This is this guy with the nickname Big Balls.
Yeah. And, it is true that there's crime in D.C. There's plenty of young black boys and girls who have been carjacked, who have been assaulted, who have been shot. And I have never once seen the president say anything about those people. It's only when a high-ranking official in his administration gets attacked that we see all this happening.
We'll be right back after a quick break.
Do you guys spend any time reading comments? Just be honest, be honest.
I try not to.
I always read the comments.
Hi there, I'm Kate Lindsay, and I host Slate's internet culture podcast, ICYMI, with Candace Lim. Twice a week, we scroll through the depths of online spaces so you don't have to. And in a recent episode, we talked all about viral debates and Jubilee media. You may have seen their videos on your feed with titles like Gay Men Test Their Gaydar and One Progressive versus 20 MAGAs. While their headlines seem wacky, the biggest Jubilee videos always seem to end the same way: online rage.
I just think it perfectly encapsulates how far we've gone in terms of normalizing just the most egregious racism and people getting excited about defending the indefensible because of all the rewards they get for being edgelords.
Listen to the entire episode now, featuring Slate staff writer Ayman Ismail. And be sure to follow ICYMI wherever you get your podcasts.
This federal takeover, it's been justified by the Home Rule Act, something that only applies to the district. But I feel like as you're speaking, that you just think D.C. is the beginning or the test case for other places. And you have heard Donald Trump talk about other blue cities and critiquing their crime rate. Can you make the case that other cities should be looking at D.C. and thinking this might happen here next?
Yeah, I mean, you see what the president is doing to D.C. He has already started some of this action in other cities. So he's really coming after cities that have so-called sanctuary city policies. And he's starting here in D.C. because he's right in D.C. He's just going to take away. He's like, we're just going to remove the sanctuary city policy entirely. Right? We don't have to deal with the funding. It's just we're going to make it go away entirely. But if he succeeds here in D.C., he's able to do that. It emboldens him. He says, okay, I'm going to actually move forward on taking funding away for sanctuary cities in other parts of the country. If he is able to repeal some of our criminal justice policies here in D.C., which he's trying to do, then he can say, okay, well, I'm going to take federal funding away from cities like a Phoenix or a Detroit or a Chicago that has criminal justice policies I don't like, and I'm going to extort their city councils to change their criminal justice policies.
I think part of what surprised me about what's going down in D.C. is how easy it seems to have been for the Trump administration to move forward and do what it wants to do. And in some ways, local officials have seemed a little pliant to me. Like last week, DC's police chief issued an order that lets officers notify ICE about encounters with undocumented immigrants. This is despite the fact that DC has a sanctuary city law that prohibits the police from collaborating with ICE. And this is something you've long advocated against. Does it alarm you to see these kinds of steps being taken?
Well, so when that order was given, it was basically a compromise. The police chief was like, okay, I'm going to uphold the letter of the law and maybe compromise on the spirit of the law and issue that order you referred to. When the attorney general saw that order from the police chief, she said, okay, I'm actually going to take total control over MPD now. Right now, I've been giving orders to our police chief. I'm actually just going to appoint a new police chief now. And that's what they tried to do, appoint a new police chief and tell them that they don't have to follow any of the DC's laws around compliance with ICE. And that went too far for our government. And so we challenged that in court and we won, at least partially, where we still have our current police chief in effect. And we're still trying to figure out exactly to what degree they can require her to violate local DC laws. I mean, it seems pretty clear to me that they can't, but I think that's before a court right now. And so I understand from the perspective of some of our local officials, there's a desire to have at least some control over our police force and try to make sure that we're not losing everything. And so but there has to be a line you can't cross.
Yeah, it seems like you're negotiating in real time, like what's a compromise and what would leave DC compromised.
Yeah, and I think that we're coming up on that line. And so let's see what happens. But at the end of the day, my perspective is that we need to be willing to enforce red lines. And so I think that we haven't necessarily gotten there yet, where they've really taken over total control over DC. But let's see what happens. At the end of the day, if they're going to do whatever they want, no matter what we do, the appeasement strategy is not going to work.
Do you feel like all the elected officials in DC are on the same page about this?
I think everybody understands the general what we want. We all have the same goal, and we're all trying to navigate how to get there. And so I think that we're all, at the end of the day, we're all on the same team. And so we're all trying to make sure that we're getting to the goal that all of us agree we get to. And maybe different people have different ways to get to that goal. But we all have the same goals at the end of the day, which is us, DC, having control over our police force and the federal government not dictating to us what laws we can and can't pass.
Do you have any tough conversations with your fellow electeds about, listen, I think we're going to need to stand up here in a way that's maybe uncomfortable, feels more radical than what we all would have done 2 years ago? What do those look like?
Yeah, I think we're all trying to navigate this right now. It's all happening, like you said, in real time. And so those conversations, I'm sure, are coming. I mean, we talk, regularly. And so I do think that we're going to start having those conversations. But at the end of the day, I think we do need to stay on the same team.
Your whole job is to advocate for statehood for DC, which would give residents representation in the Senate and Congress. In the last few weeks, do you sense your conversations with elected officials changing, people in Congress? Because it seems to me like the ask of DC statehood, it's been around for a little while, but I don't know that it's been taken seriously. I wonder if you sense a shift. Even you have said it's a 10-year timeline to get something like that accomplished, and it would need to have a Democratic president, Democratic Senate, and House of Representatives, an exception to the filibuster to get it through. It's a tough ask. So it requires a lot of fortitude, I guess is what I'm saying. Do you sense that fortitude?
Yeah, I do think that this is just making the argument even clearer about why we need to be a state.
But are people hearing that argument?
Yeah, I think that people are. I think people are recognizing what is going on in DC is wrong, and it's connecting this to statehood. It's saying this wouldn't be happening if we weren't a state. I guess I somewhat disagree with the premise of the question. I do think that DC statehood, even before this, has been a serious issue that we have been very close to passing, and I think that we're now potentially this is just going to put us over the top. We need a better Congress and a different president to pass DC statehood. But it is true that it has passed the House twice. I believe every single Democrat right now in the Senate would vote for it, and almost every single one is a co-sponsor of the statehood bill. So there are multiple pathways where DC statehood can be passed through simple majority vote in the Senate. The Republicans have showed us some of those pathways. And so I am confident the next time we have a Democratic control of the Congress and a Democratic president, we will pass DC statehood. That could be 2028. That could be 2030, it could be 2032. Whenever it happens, I think we'll be able to move this forward. And I think what is happening right now is helping make that case.
What are the odds you think that you're going to go from Shadow Senator Jane to Senator Jane?
I mean, so first of all, we have to pass statehood. And so my hope is that the 2026 and 2028 elections go well. And then actually the way that it works under DC's constitution we've adopted is that there's another election for senator, and so then there would be another election for that. And so I don't know what's going to happen in that situation. I think that statehood is going to pass in the next 5 to 10 years.
I think some residents of DC are scared right now, both because of what they're seeing on the streets and what they're hearing from people. As we've been talking, it looks like there was an incident where a military vehicle T-boned a car in Capitol Hill, and no one died, but someone got trapped in the car. And if I'm in DC, it just raises the specter of all of this influx of people, armed people, might not actually make me safer. What would you say to a resident of DC who's feeling that? now?
It is a scary time right now to live in Washington, D.C. You talk to people and the president says that people are feeling safer. It is exactly the opposite. People are really scared right now. And I think I understand the reasoning, right? You have these federal troops coming in who seem like they're, the president talked about liberating DC. It's like an occupying army coming in. And what I will say is that we need to band together in this moment. I think solidarity is what we need. And so if people are scared, I think we need to work together. I always say the best antidote to anxiety is action. And so there are groups that are working to push back against this. There's a group called Free DC that has organized a lot of protests. There are others who are continually organizing protests. There's a Refuse Fascism protest over the weekend. And so if you're worried, if you're scared, I would say join with others who are feeling the same way as you. And let's push back against this. Let's fight back against this because the people united will never be defeated. That's a saying that they say in the streets, but I think it's true. If we are able to push back and show solidarity against this, we can stop them from really being able to accomplish what they want to accomplish. You saw what happened in Columbia Heights yesterday, where residents of the neighborhood just pushed ICE out of their neighborhood. And if we can do that, we can peacefully protest and continue to make it hard for the federal government to accomplish their negative aims for DC. That is the best we can do. That is the only way we're going to be successful, is people on the ground fall along with elected leaders who are engaging effectively to fight back against what's happening.
If I were to get you on the line in like a year and we were talking about DC's violent crime rate, do you think it will have gone up or down?
My hope and expectation is that this federal encroachment only lasts 30 days. And if that's the case, I do expect the crime rate to continue going down, because that's the path we've been on. It's been going down over the past several years. And so as long as the federal government leaves us to continue doing what we have always been doing, my hope is that we'll be seeing potentially like another 30% drop from this time this year to next year.
I'm sensing a but here.
Well, it would be helpful if the federal government confirms some judges, first of all. That would help us a lot. I don't know what the president's plans are for DC. Like I said, he can only control MPD for 30 days. He can keep the National Guard here for longer if he wanted to. My hope is that he finds another issue to be consumed with, and he leaves DC alone. I think at this point, it's better. Neglect is better than active harm.
That's quite a statement, that neglect is better than actual harm, especially given that Congress clawed back a bunch of money from DC. So you're feeling the neglect. The neglect is real.
Yeah. We've been feeling neglect for many, many years, which is one of the many reasons we need DC statehood, because the responsibilities the federal government has had over DC, they don't fulfill. It would be great if we could have our own local prosecutor. You know, if you had a local prosecutor who said, I'm just going to stop prosecuting open carry of long guns, that person would be removed from office like immediately. If we had local control over our judges, we would be confirming judges immediately. Statehood is not just about abstract democracy issues. It is a life or death issue. And people die because we're not a state.
Senator Jane, I'm really grateful for your time. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Senator Ankit Jain is the junior shadow senator for the District of Columbia. And that's our show. What Next is produced by Paige Osburn, Elena Schwartz, Rob Gunther, Anna Phillips, and Madeline Ducharme. Ben Richmond is the senior director of podcast operations here at Slate. And I'm Mary Harris. Go say hello to me on Blue Sky. I'm at Mary Harris. Thanks for listening. Catch you back here next time.